Hello everybody, what is up? This is Wildcraft Superfan 1 and welcome to the first episode of Speedpaint Storytime. So yeah, I thought I would do this particular series where I am going to be telling a story while you watch my speed paint in the background. Today's first episode is going to be about something that a lot of people have been asking me ever since the beginning of time. And by time, I mean my time on the internet. Ever since I created Kate Corcovado about 3-4 years ago, I've been getting questions constantly saying, what is Kate's background story? Where does she come from? Why can't I find a story anywhere? So, if anyone keeps asking me those questions, I will be directing them to this video. Basically, Kate's story came from Wikia a couple years ago, but it's gone through several drafts, and if you guys want a really good story that actually gives you a very good description of Kate's past, I'm going to leave a link of it down in the description. I would highly recommend a story by my good friend IJ Girl called Two Little Butterflies. It really does do a very good job explaining Kate Corcovado's backstory in a way that I never could have. So yeah, let's get into the story. I actually just know this story by heart, so this is unscripted, so I'm just gonna tell you the story while I'm watching the speed paint on my movie maker. So yeah, this should be fun. Alright, so let's get started. Another big question that a lot of people have been asking me is Aviva Kate's mother? And that's partially true, but they usually mean like her biological mother. Like, Zach is her biological father and Aviva is the biological mother. No, that is not true. I'm going to put that to rest. Kate's mother was named Mackenzie, and she is another character that I created. But her story is that she passed away when Kate was born. So that's basically where the story of Kate Corcovado begins. She originally was Kate Varmatek. And basically the story starts with, this is like right after Mackenzie's passing, we learn that Kate's name is Kate and that Zach loved Mackenzie very much, but unfortunately she died while giving birth to Kate, so you can probably guess that Zach was a little mad at Kate, but at the same time he wanted to raise her and grant Mackenzie's final wish, which was that her name would be Kate. Fast forward to about 4 years. I do not understand why I made Kate 4 years old in this spot. She probably has the mental capacity of a 6-year-old, but that's just how I did it. Basically, everything that happens in this next part of the story is completely during the timeline of, what's it called? Aardvark Town, which is episode 3 of season 1 of Wildcrats. So I guess I'll put a spoiler warning here if you guys haven't watched Wildcrats. Season 1, episode 3, basically this whole part of the story takes place during that episode. So I'm so sorry, but you're about to get spoiled. Anyway, the story plays out during Aardvark Town basically the same way that the episode aired, except that Kate's just kind of put in the middle of it. When Zach is ordering his Zachbots around, she's there kind of making comments in her head about how he treats the Zachbots and kind of how he treats the animals in general. Kate's life completely changed when the brothers show up. Now, ever since she was a little girl, well, she is a little girl, okay, ever since she was little, she was taught that she should never go close to the Kratts, because obviously, you know, Zach hates them, and he wouldn't want his own daughter to go near them. So, with that being said, when the Kratts showed up later in the episode, when they confront Zach about his Aardvark kidnapping, she's, of course, very scared, because she didn't know that they were good people, basically. Her whole life, she had been told that animals were used for robots. They're supposed to help humans, and in a way, they're supposed to help humans, but not in the way that Zach was doing. So when Chris said the famous lines in the 3rd episode saying that, you know, the aardvark belongs in the wild, animals depend on her, and they wouldn't have homes if it weren't for her, something in Kate's mind clicked. Like, she realized that animals have feelings and animals have specific needs just like people do. So that's when her idea of nature and animals in general changed, and she realized that her father, Zach, just might be wrong about what he is doing. So finally she gets the strength and the the guts to come out from behind Zach, because that's where she was hiding during this whole ordeal. And Chris sees her, but he doesn't say much. He just kind of figures that, oh, well, this must be, like, related to Zach in some sort of way. He doesn't really question it. But, and also he's not really able to say much, because then the aardvark starts digging towards the brothers, and they fall into the pit. Again, you have to watch the episode to fully understand what is going on. So anyway, fast forward, Kate realizes that her father is incorrect with the way he's treating the animals. So finally, in the timeline, which basically at this point we are at episode 8, which is Build It Beaver, Kate kind of confronts her father, saying, you know, why are you doing this? I'm confused. And she actually blurted out that she didn't want to hurt animals anymore and that she wanted to be a wildcat instead. Well, you can probably guess that with the wildcats being Zach's enemy, he probably wasn't very happy to hear that. And he really wasn't. He got mad at Kate, and one thing led to another, and before he knew it, let's see, how would I put this? We'll put it this way. Basically, everything for Kate fades to black. I'll put it that way. When she wakes up, she finds herself in kind of like a timeout room that she always had when she was little, that was in Zach's house. And she realizes that she has got a black eye. So she realizes what Zach had done. So she escaped by breaking one of the windows with like the knob on her bedpost, and escaped into the forest. And it wasn't long until the Zachbots realized that, uh-oh, Kate's kind of missing. We need to go find her. At the same time, Chris just can't seem to get Kate out of his mind, because he felt like something was wrong with the fact that she was there. So he had been trying for a long time, several days in fact, to figure out, you know, where she came from, what was she doing there, but still nothing turned up. So he was actually on a walk. This is at the end of Build a Beaver, like after the camera's turned off after the end of the episode, when they're in that forest. So Chris decides to go for a walk just to try and clear his head about everything that's going on. Meanwhile, in the same forest, little Kate is running through the forest because she hears the Zachbots following her and everything. And this is probably a good time to bring up Toodles. If you guys do not know who Toodles is, he is the Zachbot that kind of disguised himself as Chris in Let the Rhinos Roll. I know that Let the Rhinos Roll aired after Build a Beaver, but I kind of like to think that Zach still like had him at the time and just was like using him. And Kate had grown really close to Toodles in a way, to a point where you know, she kind of thought of him as like her best friend, and he thought of her as his best friend. So he actually diverted the Zachbots away from her because he knew that something just wasn't right and she was escaping for a reason. So he just kind of took that into consideration and decided to just let her escape, I guess. Yeah, just like every Zachbot, he was kind of silly. Anyway, so Chris is walking in the forest, and all of a sudden he hears this rustling in the bushes. So he looks over at the bush, and before he knows it, this kid runs out and slams right into his middle, and they both crash onto the forest floor. And he looks up and realizes that it was Kate who was trying to escape. So naturally, she's crying, she's upset, and she tries to hide behind Chris, and she's trying to tell him that, you know, the Zachbots are after her, she can't escape from them. And that's when the Zachbots appear, but Chris is able to fight them off, because obviously he's bigger than them. And he takes Kate back to the Tortuga. Now, he at this point could tell that this was the kid that Zach had with him earlier. He also realized the bruises on her face, so he figured, okay, she either got hurt while she was trying to escape from something, or something really bad happened in Zach's property, I guess. So we go on to the next day, and Kate is with the crew, but Zach is outside, ready to basically raid the Tortuga to get Kate out of there. Naturally, Chris isn't having any of it, and he goes out and basically tells off Zach, saying that if he finds Zach trying to hurt her again, then there will be a problem. And I don't mean like a problem as in like, you know, what am I trying to say? Jeez. Maybe having this unscripted wasn't such a good idea. Basically, he's saying that he will be sure that Kate will never see Zach again, basically. So yeah, after that, Kate was adopted by the Wildcrats crew, and that's how she became part of the Wildcrats crew, which actually, this particular story went through several different drafts. I had one to where the original story actually was to where Kate passed away, but it's gone to a point where now she's part of the team and grows up with them, and it's really cool. I had a lot of fun in the years that I was making this, making her story. I had a lot of fun, and I also had a lot of fun telling the story to you guys. If you want the link to the original story, it is on Wikia. I will provide a link in the description, as well as a link to Two Little Butterflies. You guys should really go watch it. As for that, this is WKSF1 signing off. Peace out.